Hi guys, how are you today? Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Hi Kurt, how are you?
Doing good, thank you.
So, are you all ready for Christmas?
Yes, we are.
Emily, are you all ready for Christmas?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Um, but welcome everybody to a another episode of Onward and Upward. Um,
Live stream.
I am Emily, one of the hosts, along with Kurt Raskoff, and we have Maria Zaini joining us today. Um, Gert, yeah, wanna introduce yourself? Say hi. Say anything about Onward and Upward?
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Onward and Upward podcast. Onward and Upward, a devoted nonprofit charity for responding to.
Yeah, connection kind of going in and out here. Um,
So, um, onward and upward, Emily, Kurt, is that you've got that'll be a lot of people that are homeless are going to have a difficult time right now in the Christmas period. Do you
yes,
find that? Do you find a lot
yes.
of that?
Yes, I'm sure there are uh, quite a few people, especially uh, homeless people, among others, that are having a hard time now, especially um, uh, that COVID is still kind of going on, and so that makes it even that much
Yeah.
harder.
I think right now with we had the Delta variant and we've got the Omicron variant right now, and also like I don't know about you how the weather is in Wisconsin. Is Do you have snow over there? Are you in a sunnier climate or where are you based in Wisconsin? Is that like the Midwest? Is that
Yeah, it's in the Midwest.
so like your winters? Are your winters really quite cold? Are they
Yeah, yeah, um, they usually tend to be on the colder side and uh, usually have quite a bit of snow as well. Even though right now we don't have any for
okay.
some reason, but uh, usually there's some snow.
So what is Onward and Upward? What does it do and how can we support it?
Support support what?
Onward and Upward,
Um, to what if anybody out there knows of anybody to uh, refer to us, or if anybody um, if anyone either themselves or knows someone who is interested in um, sponsoring, donating, um, volunteering, um, to feel free to reach out to us as well. Um, but I think the biggest thing right now with uh, Onward and Upward is we are planning a event for February 22nd. That is to help combat veteran suicide. And if anybody is interested in helping out with that event, feel free to reach out. We just I saw this morning we have an official location for that now.
And
Which
where is that location?
It's at a resort, kind of in mid-central Wisconsin, called the Kalahari. And the 22 is going off of the old statistic of 22 vets a day losing their life to suicide. But just in the recent few weeks here, we've heard that it's actually gone up.
Yeah,
To now being in the 30s.
Yeah.
And Gert, do I have you back, or are we still cutting in and out? Or Sue?
I think it's 33 at the number at our last heard, and I think it's going up. And this is just the US alone, so we're not counting across the globe. We're just counting US, and I think you're trying. How much funds are you trying to raise?
I believe like $22 million.
Fantastic. I think that's such a word.
Yeah.
I think that's such a worthwhile cause as well, and also the fact that it's also for ex-army veterans, male and females as well. And we were talking earlier with Dr. Anna Maria Blevin. We're talking about a lot of female ex-army veterans or females in the veteran forces, be it Navy, Army, whatever force they are. They feel invisible and they don't feel appreciated. And I think that's quite sad. And I feel like they should feel like, because they also serve and they also protect, and also we have to also think about the families of the ex-veterans as well. And I love what you're doing as well, because a lot of the veterans that come out of like back from war face unemployment and face like homelessness and face they have so many issues like with PTSD, so many complex issues, and we need to be able to support them and able to help them, because they serve and protect our for our liberty and our freedom, depending no matter what country we're from. They do an amazing job. Emily, what's your thought on that?
Yeah, I think that everybody needs to be probably need to do a better job of helping not just veterans when they come back from war, but anybody that needs help with anything.
Absolutely. I would love to see like big organizations like Google, Amazon, all these big organizations to have to actively employ people from the armed forces, because they've got like transferable skills, fantastic skills that they may be underappreciated. I know in the film and TV community there is a lot of reach out to have people from the ex forces due to the fact they have such transferable, fantastic skills that they're undervalued and underappreciated, and I would love to see that more employment for army army veterans. Would you like to see that, Emily?
Yeah, that's one of the things that Onward Upward does, is helping helping like homeless and veterans find employment. Kurt, do you have any thoughts? Do we have you back? Or not? Must be.
I know that I was reading up on I don't really understand that your political system, because I'm from the UK, but I reckon there's some female congresswomen have like military experience. How important do you believe that is in politics to have more representation of females from the armed forces? You think that will help like ex-army veterans to have a better voice, females in particular, and also LGBTQ plus as well? Emily?
Well, I think it's important for everybody to have a voice. And yeah, including everybody, not just with women vets, but yeah, I think need to do a better job with that as well.
Do you think it's important for like entrepreneurs or startups to actively employ people from the armed forces? Because I know in the UK there is a fund available to help you to employ ex-army veterans. Is that something available in America?
Well, there's like the whole Kurt, I wish you could come on here. There's the whole like the like no discrimination part of it, but from a heard, I think from Anna Maria, there are some vets who are Kurt, we were just talking about vets and hiring vets, and I was wondering if you'd, I was sort of starting to try to explain the thing about what Anna Maria said about some vets are scared to say that they're a veteran to potential employers.
Why do you think, Emily? Why do you think that is? Why do you think there's such an issue? It's the same like if you, for example, if you declare a disability, there's a potential discrimination. Do you feel that's the same with ex-army veterans? Do you feel they potentially could feel discriminated?
Possibly. Kurt, what are your thoughts on this topic?
Well, there's a couple things that play into this. One is we learned this year from Anna Maria that
veterans, when they are job seeking, actually, many of them hold back the fact that they're a veteran because they're apparently the message is that veterans determined that employers are too likely to look at their veteran status and hold it against them, that makes them less than an ideal candidate for employment. And so kind of discussing this around with vets and non-vets alike, it's speculation of, just knowing that PTSD exists amongst veterans and, just some of the behavioral aspects. Like, for example, when a veteran enters a room, they tend to go to the far wall and look back at the entrance to avoid surprises, so thinking like in a combat sense, sneak attacks and so forth. So, so vets can kind of be a little nervous about that stuff. And so there's these different behavioral things that if an employer is not as aware of what's all happening with that, they might actually take that as a deterrent. And then Anna Maria was saying this week that unfortunately, there are people out there that are non-vets playing the system, reporting that they're a vet, and just hoping that people won't check their vet status and that they'll benefit from being known as a vet when they're really not.
Yeah, I was gonna say, saying they're a vet and they're not.
No, I really think that's horrible. But what I believe, and I hope you do believe, I think vets have, it's veterans of people from the army have so many transferable skills because they'll learn to do. They're trained to do lots of different things. They have leadership qualities. They have discipline, and they do look back for like snakes or cats, and that's probably why a lot of army veterans may go into security or may go into the police force because they have a need to protect and serve, and that is something that we have to admire. And they may go into, for example, be part of Operation Rescue, which is ex-Navy SEALs that do rescue human trafficking victims. And they are of service, and they do a fantastic job, an amazing job. And they see stuff that you and I and Emily would probably never see in our lifetime, but they see the most unspeakable horrors. And we have, whether you believe in the wars or not, they still go off to these Afghanistan, they go off to these areas of foreign land, but they also work in the United States when they are the National Guard. They do have a service, they do protect, you do, they do protect liberty and freedom, be it what you believe or not. And especially with the United Nations as peacekeepers, they go on to areas of across the globe, and also you have, for example, United Nations police force as well. That police officers spend 2 years and stationed abroad to protect and serve other areas that may not have the same liberties that you and I have, and may not have the freedoms that you and I have, because we're in the United. Well, I'm from the United Kingdom and also from Italy, but there are certain countries that do not have the right of the same liberties that you and I have, being from, and it's not about enforcing our liberty, enforcing us. It's also about cultural awareness and making sure that every person feels safe, and every person has ability to be enabled, to be empowered, to be empowered as well. And I feel that the army now, depending on armed forces, royal, for example, the Air Force, the Navy, the Army, the Marine Corps, and the National Guard, the all areas of the armed forces need to be all need to be treated as equally as given being of service as well. So you do get, for example, you do get the military police, you get NCIS, which is the Navy police, I believe, and you do get JAG, you do get different areas of the on the armed forces, and yeah, there is sometimes some bad apples in the armed forces, but not everybody's a bad apple. Not everyone is. There's a lot of people that do they to go there to protect liberty, and sometimes joining the army maybe only we get an education. I know in the United Kingdom, like here, for example, you get funded by the armed forces if you go to university to be a doctor, or and also in University of Glasgow, we used to have, for example, the Air Force used to take students to do to 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 train, but to become fighter pilots. Is that the same in America, Emily? Do you have that type of thing?
Um,
That you give what you do, you sign up and you go to the university, and after university, you do your you do your service after university.
I think we have something like that occurred. Um, like there are like internships and um, there's where somebody can do the internship and then get hired on by the
Yeah.
employer.
Yeah, because my cousin was part of the university air squadron, and my other cousin was at was also uh, was also um in the reserve as well.
What was your question?
No, I'm saying, and
Oh,
and my cousin and my two cousins at university, one of them was in the Air Force.
okay.
That was became part of Glasgow University Air Squadron Academy, and my cousin was also and was also part of the university army cadet and did officer training.
That sounds cool.
And I was just asking, do you have that in America? That type of thing that you go and do your training. You like if you're a doctor, you spend a couple of years training as a doctor, then you sign up with the armed forces and you become a doctor with the armed forces, and the the armed forces pay for for your your um your for your training.
Um, I believe we have something similar occurred. I think we have something sort of like that. Yes.
Because also in like when you're in like for example in let's say you're a mechanic in the army, they teach you how to become to do like how to repair cars. So when you leave the army, you can actually become a mechanic outside the army. So you've had like mechanical training for example, like if you're an engineer, you get engineering, you get trained as an engineer. So corporate America and corporate United Kingdom has a wealth of trained personnel that has transferable skills that could be of benefit to society as a whole.
Kurt, can you correct me if I'm wrong? If you can come back on camera. I believe that's sort of what's going to be happening and Project Die Hard. Is that they have a few cars that don't work right now. And I believe they are hoping to get some veterans to work on the cars and fix them up so that they actually work. And so I guess if somebody had mechanic has driven mechanics before, that might be a
yeah,
good
for example,
thing for them.
Yeah, because like for example, everyone needs like a plumber, everyone needs an electrician, everyone needs tradesmen and tradespeople, everyone needs a tiler at one point or another. So everyone needs a mechanic who has a car at one time or another.
Yes. Yeah, there's their people.
Yeah, and everyone needs a builder at one point or another, and everyone needs security at one point or another, and everyone needs to be protected at one point or another. So, yeah, absolutely, I like that. In the United Kingdom, we have like, for example, like a type of body system. So, for example, if you have
I think we
you're also doing the drone ball drop. Talk about that. What's the drone ball drop?
what was your question?
You're doing the drone ball drop.
Yes.
What is that? I've never heard of that. Can you tell me what that is?
It's I think usually done over a golf course.
I've been tested.
But with our event, may or may not be over a golf course. But it's where you put balls in a drone, and then have the drone fly over a target and drop the balls on the target, and whichever one, all the balls would be numbered, so whichever numbered ball was either the closest to the target or in the target would be the winner of a grand prize or winner of something.
Yeah. So the agenda for the second, I think is it the 2nd of February 2022? Is it the 22nd of February 2022? Yeah.
Yes, February 22nd, 2022.
So you're going to have a job fair for veterans. Is that correct?
I believe we're going to have a job type fair, yeah.
You're going to have Smash and Meditate as well. Then you're going to have the Drone Ball Drop. Then you're going to have Project 22, which is a documentary. Which then you're going to have a benefit gala dinner and a benefit concert. Is that the plan so far?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
But we have Tim join us, Tim Trojan. Hi, Tim.
Hi, Tim. I've actually got the numbers for the suicide.
Hi.
Hi. I've got the numbers for the suicide that I'm going to read out just now for you because Anna Maria Blevin gave me it on the 12th. On the 12th, 2012, it was 22.8%. 2013, it was 24%. 2014, it was 25.2% of suicide rates in veterans. 2015, 26.3%. 2016, 25.8%. 2017, 27.3%. 2018, 27.5%. And the latest now in 2021 is 33%. So I think this it's growing and growing and growing, and it's more alarming. And this is not. And do you think due to COVID, it's gotten worse due to COVID? Emily, Tim, do you think it's gotten worse due to COVID?
Well, I think we need to investigate this as much as we can, so we're experts on this subject. You know, maybe if we know all about this, then we can explain it to others.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I understand, Tim, but the numbers don't lie. These are official numbers. And for me, that is scary. And that is something that quite scares me, Cock. What's your thing? Are you concerned, Cock?
I just think that it's not 20% of anything. I think maybe the numbers, if we have the numbers right, then we can speak about it, but 20% sounds a little bit high.
No, but that's what I'm saying. The numbers is 20. People are saying 22 people each day if they pass away from suicide. It's actually now up to 33. It's up to 33 people per day, not 22. It's actually increased.
Well, maybe that's indicative of some other big phenomena, like maybe the suicide numbers they represent some problem with the military that nobody's talking about in a bigger story than suicide. Maybe we're not getting from the military people that we have in our group, maybe we're not getting the entire story. They're not coloring it the right way, so that those of us that weren't in the military, we really don't understand until, do we have anybody that's attempted suicide that wants to talk about it to the group? Maybe they want to share their personal story. so that we're not just going on assumptions and statistics, because statistics don't tell the story all the time, and you know, they don't tell the human story. So
No, I absolutely understand, but if for me, instead, if 22 is a lot, if it's going up to 33, then we're doing something wrong. And my question, Tim, and to you, Cut and Emily, you think COVID has had, and you think COVID has also had an issue with people's mental health? You think COVID has made it, has caused people's mental health to to increase due to the fact like it's harder to get so many our mental health support systems are overstretched due to COVID. Do you think people are falling underneath the tracks? Cut, Emily, Tim, what do you think of that? What that hypothesis? Cut.
well, I mean, we have to consider like what is going to resonate with a marketing slogan. What are people going to respond to? What's the angle? Like, are we like if we just say suicide, is that enough? Maybe that's just all we need to do, because I don't really know. I don't think COVID really, that's an assumption. But is suicide related to COVID? I don't see a direct connection, and I don't think people in general consider that there is a direct connection or an indirect connection between COVID and suicide. So, and military suicide. So I'm not sold yet, but
I'm sorry, I disagree. I think I'm not being rude, but I disagree. I think the fact of people's mental health and people that suffer from long COVID and people that have disabilities, or not just for the suicide. I'm not talking about the army. I'm not talking about that. I believe that there is an increased risk of suicide due to the fact of what we're going through, due to the fact some people haven't been out of their homes. I actually believe that there could be a link to that.
yeah, I don't, I'm not disagreeing with you. I just, maybe it's very, very, very clear. I still, I'm trying to think of what America might think, or maybe around the world, actually, internationally, it's more of an issue than it is in America. The way Americans think about those two issues being linked together might be different than the way people in Scotland and Italy and South Africa might think differently. How is that looked at? That's just me. Hey, it's just one thought, just from me. Maybe if we, we bring it up to everybody, Brian, JR, Kurt, Anna Maria, maybe they go, yeah, Tim, we think these two are COVID is a big, big concern with suicides, but
Absolutely.
yeah,
But
yeah,
the problem, PTSD is not just related to the army. Anyone can have PTSD. It's not an army issue. PTSD is trauma, is like is severe trauma. If you, for example, have been attacked, for example, of you can end up having PTSD. It's not just related to the army. PTSD is very complex and it relates to a lot of different issues and relates to a past trauma that's not been healed. But if you're, for example, ex-army veterans, what they go through and being, especially right now, I believe in what our emergency forces have been through. For example, doctors, nurses, all the health service, and their key workers. A lot of them are facing burnout. A lot of them have been facing, for example, burnout, PTSD. The stuff that they're saying, they're not trained for that type of level of attack. So they've not had, for example, a break. Now in the United Kingdom, we are going into a potential fifth lockdown, a fifth wave, potentially. So we're talking about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves. So, and what, like, for example, like, if you look at, for example, COVID, how it hit Italy, it was like them being on a battlefield, and they're not trained in that. Those doctors and those nurses weren't trained in that. And you can have all the training in the world, but you're a human being, and you and your and your body can cope with a, a certain amount of trauma, and then you need support and you need understanding, and you need to be able to have the support. And if you're coming back from a war and so on, or coming back from service and you're like, it's army veteran, and you're going, for example, coming from Kabul, let's say Afghanistan, where if you hear a back, like if you hear a car firing, that could potentially be a bomb. So you could be in that a mode that you're still hyper vigilant of the situations you come back from, and then you have to reacclimatize to being a civilian, and that can be really traumatic for people who are ex-army veterans. Readjusting to civilian life can be a culture shock, and we need to make it much easier for our ex-army veterans, and like what JR is doing with the ranch and having horse therapy and god therapy and stuff like that, and being able to have like animals, like for example dogs, for example. So if, for example, you've got like veterans, ex-army veterans, female and male, who are dog handlers, who go and sniff out bombs and IED, that must be, you have to be hyper vigilant. And that, you bond with your dog. So let's say your dog is then kept in the war effort and you come back, that bond is broken. So it's like you're like losing a part of your limb. You're losing a loved one, and it's really important that we have, for example, we help fund MJH's ranch that does horse therapy, and we need to have these programs that fund these service guards to help veterans, and some veterans come back with disabilities, and hidden disabilities, invisible disabilities, and PTSD is a disability, and mental health is a disability, and we need to be able to help support them when they come back. Kurt, Tim, what do you think?
Gary?
Well, go ahead. Go
Tim,
ahead.
you can go first.
I just think that you kind of like made the connection here, and I just would like to respond. We have a critical we have a critical decision to make. We have to decide whether we're going to include PTSD in our message, because I think that when people think about suicide, they don't make the connections that you're talking about, Maria. You're making the connection, but not everybody out there does. It's our job to lead them to make the same connection we're making. So we're actually informing and educating and publicizing and asking for support at the same time. But if we don't say PTSD, we may be making a critical mistake, because there are, I guess, dozens of organizations that are using the 222. What we have to do differently is add PTSD to the 222. So every time we talk about 222, we have to say PTSD. According to what you're saying, that's what the action is we have to take, so that when they hear them together, PTSD and 222 have to be said together all the time. And then we're doing what you're saying. We're not just describing something to ourselves. We're describing it to those that we're asking to help us. We're doing it like, because PTSD is the problem. And one is a problem, one's a symptom, and one's a solution. No, one's a symptom. Well, the one's a symptom of the other, PTSD and suicide. So we have to say them together. It's an effective message if we say PTSD and 222 PTSD and suicide together. If we say those things together, then it's more effective, because I can give you parts of Chicago, the whole part of Chicago has PTSD. I can give you whole parts of Milwaukee. They all have PTSD.
Absolutely, but PTSD is not the only one that leads to suicide. There's bullying, harassment. There's lots of issues that lead to suicide. I think what we really need, Tim, we need people to be suicide awareness trained across the globe. Every single person have that training from an early start at middle school, at really, really young, to recognize the signs of suicide and recognize those signs that people are on that verge of that. Because if you don't recognize the signs, you may be missing out. And suicide is not, if people don't commit, it's very difficult. Suicide is such a complex issue and such a complex thing that people need to have a more understanding of why people. You could be the most blubbliest person in the world, and you could have the most amazing personality, but you should have suicidal tendencies. And suicide is the act of intentionally causing one's own death, and it's mental disorders, including depression, bipolar. Some suicides are impulsive acts due to stress, but some of them are not. Some of them are not. So it's to say it's just PTSD. I don't want to say that. It's so much more than that. There are so many levels to this, and it's such an important issue that we need to understand why is it that Army veterans I feel the need to take their own life. What can we do to stop that? Is it to do with a diagnosed mental problems, recent or upcoming crisis, intimate partner problems, physical health, alcohol problems, substance abuse, arguments, family problems, job problems, financial problems, legal problems, death of a loved one. There's so many issues that cause people. Is it social economic problems, unemployment, poverty, homelessness, discrimination? Is it what war veterans have a higher risk due impact to highest rates of mental illness, such as post-traumatic stress disorder and physical problems relating to war. There are a higher risk of suicide. As it's actually stated, is it due to the fact they may have had a war injury? Or is it due to such as post-traumatic? And what is it leading to the increase? And what can we do to decrease that increase? And how can we stop that from rising any further? And how can we stop anyone feeling so low that they cannot talk to someone, or feel so that low that they feel that there's no other way that to take their own life? That is something that me breaks my heart. It really does. It makes me so sad that they feel that they cannot have any other way that take their own lives. That they feel there's no other way, and it shouldn't be. There's so many support organisations out there to support them. And I want to say to people that have that, tomorrow's another day. Tomorrow is another day. Please talk to someone. Talk to a loved one. Talk to the local Samaritans. Talk to support. Talk to someone that you feel that is able to help. Because suicide is a cry for help. When you count suicide, you're asking for help, and it's a cry for help. Please help people. Emily, Tim, talk what you think.
Yeah. Gary, what are your thoughts?
Tim, what's your thought? What's your thought?
I'm trying to catch up to like where are we at right now?
I'm saying I'm saying suicide is a cry for help. And we need to be able to be. It would be lovely if we're all trained in mental health awareness and suicide prevention, because suicide is a cry for help.
Well,
All right, I'm not sure if it's gonna be able to.
yes and no.
Okay, you're really cutting in and out, dude. But Tim, what are your thoughts?
It is like once it happens, then I'm not sure.
Well, I'm waiting for Kurt. So
I think Kurt's
He's
breaking up.
kind of cutting in and out a little bit.
Tim, for me, also social isolation as well has been a factor of people, like some people during the pandemic don't have any family and have had to be placed in lockdown previously, and that has affected people's mental health. And I think we need to make it a less taboo topic to talk about. And as what I was saying previously, it has been scientific. It has been known that people that have from the veteran forces have more, have, for example, a higher rate of PTSD and higher rate of mental trauma and a higher rate of potential disability due to their combat experience.
I think we can do both, Maria. We can address the military and the greater population, and I think people will connect. The message will resonate. But if we don't say PTSD, we can write off, like $20,000 that we would if PTSD, using those words, will increase our take like $20,000 difference. Because outside of the military, there are lots of people that have PTSD. And I know we're talking about the military here, but there's large portions of the United States that have mental issues. We'll speak for our own country here, and they're not being addressed. And I think it's the new mental health. It's the new health crisis in the world, but we have to say it. If Anna Maria doesn't say it, then if she doesn't include it in our message, then we're just writing off, we're giving away $20,000. I have to put a price tag on it because, I have to say it in dollar terms. What does it mean to our Onward and Upward group if we don't say these words, if we don't use PTSD in our message? And I don't believe anybody else is using these words. If we use them, we will get $20,000 for using those words.
I understand that.
Yeah.
And,
so just as long as we do include those 4 letters, then we're doing ourselves justice. And I believe that message will resonate across America.
Absolutely. But
yeah.
I don't, it's not only PTSD that leads to suicidal tendencies, it's much, much more than that. So I understand what you're saying, but it's such a complex issue, and but we need to get the numbers down, and we need to make people aware that war veterans have a higher risk of have a higher risk of being excluded from work, have a higher risk of not being seen, have this higher risk, and it's really important that we make sure that they are protected and make sure that all the support, that it would be amazing if they could have, like, for example, when you come out from war, that you're given a buddy that has been through that to mentor you from coming out from the army, that can mentor you to come back into civilization. So you have like a support system, that you're not left struggling on your own. So you have like a buddy system that can help you come out from the army, and you're then given a buddy that has been part in the civilian population, and then you have this buddy mentor that can mentor you, and then when you have been given that, you're back in society, you have a job, and you then go and mentor someone else that's coming out from the armed forces. So you mentor each other and you help support, like a sisterhood or a brotherhood. So you have that mentoring system already there. Emily, what do you think about that?
Yeah, it's always good to have support. Yeah, so the support is very important.
Especially if it's somebody that's already been through what you've been through,
Yes.
and then they can hold your hand through the process, and they can then you've got like that a body, you've got this body. For example, I think there is that type of program that the army do, like they put dogs with ex-army soldiers, I believe, or something. I'm not too sure. So you have that support system.
Yeah, and the buddy system.
Yeah, I would like to see, like, for example, rescue organisations who have animals, um, giving the animals to like ex-army veterans to take care of and foster and nurture. I think that would be really amazing to see more organisations doing that. That would get, like, for example, like get them buddied up with like a pet cat, a pet dog. So when they're coming out, they've got like this animal that they need to take care of, and that animal takes care of them. Something like that. Because there's so many animals that get put down or get killed because there's no one to foster and look after them. So why not have a policy that if you are like in the military, can you also adopt a pet from these rescue centres and and foster like puppies? So when they are going to war, the families have like a pet or an animal that they can foster and look after that can like help support the family during this tough time. Like we were talking about the female, that so something like that. I don't know. I'm just thinking. I'm thinking out loud.
Well, I do think there's something that we can use in this campaign. But I don't want to, and I want to use it as soon as possible. And like my thought is, what I keep saying is, if it's good enough for our discussion, then it's good enough for the message in our campaign. But I'm afraid that Anna Maria is not going to use that language in the campaign. So for our purposes, we understand what we're talking about. But for Onward and Upward, we have to publicize what we're talking about to the greater public, to their understanding. We have to communicate it. So how do we communicate this? How do we effectively communicate this message that you're talking about, Maria? Effectively communicate it so that people donate funds to us, and then we can in turn work to decrease these numbers. Work to solve the problem.
But Tim, you can't say Anna Maria won't use those words. You can't say that because you don't know what she will not do. We can't speculate like that. Everybody's different, so we can't speculate like that. I know for a fact that Anna Maria is very, very, very passionate about female army veterans that are feel invisible, because a lot of them.
But she's not here, and so if she's
I understand that, Tim, but we cannot put I understand she's
Well-
not here, but we cannot put words into people's mouths if they're not here.
It's okay. It's okay. I think that's fair. I think that's fair. I shouldn't speculate. I shouldn't speculate. But the message that she includes, I'm just speculating, not what's in her heart or what her passion. I'm just speculating what the decision will be for our message as a group. And she and do we change the slogan that we have? Because if we don't change the slogan that we're using, that's what I think that we're talking about here, is changing the slogan to reflect what we believe and what the public will believe, and what will get them to donate dollars to our cause. And that's the slogan. And that's the discussion that
No,
we
okay.
do also.
Yeah, Tim, what is going to get people to donate stories is having brave ex-army veterans, male and female, tell their story. That's what's going to resonate. That's what's going to donate. Is when they're brave enough to come on and tell their stories. That's what's going to resonate. That's what's going to get to people's hearts. It's a fact when we hear the brave, the stories of these amazing, fantastic people who risk their own lives to make sure that you and I have the freedom that we want. We're talking, because, for example, it's not just about being in the army and stuff like that. They also stop terrorist threats. They also do lots of things to stop human trafficking. They do amazing things. And when we give them a platform to share their stories, that's when we're going to raise awareness. And that is when we're going to, and also to also acknowledge the fact that ex-female veterans feel invisible, and that's something that they shouldn't feel invisible. And that's stated in the VA hospital with the mural that Anna Marie Blevin talked about, that ex-female army veterans feel invisible at second point, and that's not right. And also, we need to also acknowledge LGBTQ plus. We need to also include a male veterans as well. We also need to include a family, the families of these veterans. They also suffer as well. It's much bigger than me. This is bigger than all of us. This campaign is so important to acknowledge that we have an issue. We have a problem that the numbers are not going up. The numbers are going up, and that's worrying. And how can we stop that trend? How can we bring the numbers back down? No one on this earth should feel that suicide is the only way out. That really breaks my heart. It really tears me apart. And I've felt that way in the past. I felt that way. And it's a really dark time, and I never want to go back to that time again. It's really dark. If we're being honest, I'm truly honest, most of us have felt that way at some time. But the job that these brave men and soldiers do, and their families who don't get paid, travel across the world, do and put up with, it puts them at a higher risk for complications of suicide, and puts them at a higher risk and a greater risk. And we need to acknowledge that, and we need to acknowledge that they do a great service to us. and how can we, like for example, the HMP veteran veteran networking. It's not just for veterans, it's for anyone. It's for allies. It's for us to help. The HMP ability group is for we support people for a disability. Unfortunately, a lot of ex-army veterans come back with issues of hearing loss. That could lead to them to be in a more depressive state. So and sometimes when you see people rioting in the streets against the war, and then you're going to war to help these countries, well then you could feel, was that what was my service justified? And yes, and we have to say we acknowledge what you've done, and we thank you. But if you look at, for example, the war in Vietnam, what happened, the war in Korea, World War II, World War One, all these wars, the war in Syria, the Baltic Wars, and all these wars that are going on right now, all these conflicts across the globe. And if you have a look what happened in America in January, I'm not going to name what happened, and all the riots are going all across the globe right now. It's to show that these it's an important issue, and we have to acknowledge. For example, right now in the UK, we have a threat alert right now because of what happened like a couple of months ago, and we have to be so vigilant right now. And our this our armed forces are stretched to the limit right now due to the fact of COVID right now, due to the fact of what they've been through, what they're going through right now, and it's really, really, really important that we honour their sacrifice and we make their voice heard.